All right, welcome to the first official lecture of the summer. As we look at chapter one, looking at movies, you'll be able to tell that there'll be some terms for you to learn and get into exactly what we're dealing with on this one, a good introduction to it. Movies are not just watched in theaters today, but you know that, right? TiVo, you'll be able to rent them from a red box. You can go online, seek out cable access. Streaming is very popular right now for many reasons. You have different groups that are doing it that gives you some options, and you can watch them right on your television, which is more sophisticated now than in the early years when it was a 4:3 screen. Now you get a more movie-like screen to watch them and enjoy them on. I watch many movies on my iPad. Smartphones, you can even plug them into some cars and watch off of a screen on a vehicle. I mean, there's many ways for you to enjoy films today, but there's a cinematic language that you need to start learning. We've gone over some very basics with the Dirty Harry scene, and you want to be able to visually communicate what you're experiencing and understanding the techniques used, the concepts that are incorporated to bring out the narrative style film and for the viewer to really get into it, but for the viewer to experience it in their own ways. So they want to connect with you in the theater, but also at home. So it's a different approach than it used to be. So actively looking at movies, many tools and principles that filmmakers will use to tell a story. It's very personal from the director's perspective. It will give it different meanings. It'll influence emotions and ideas that you are not used to looking at. So keep that in mind as we go through this summer together. Understanding movies is from a narrative perspective, telling a story. It's artistic expression, seeing how the actors intertwine with the narrative style of film. All those things are important at this point. Looking at culture and what you see as culture compared to what you're exposed to in the film will broaden your horizon, make it a different feeling, and maybe change your mind, which may be what they're after. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Thinking movie, cinema, or film. What do all those terms mean? In some ways, they're interchangeable, but in different approaches. So we look at the term kinesis or movement, and it often implies art in film. How the movement on the screen creates it. So that we've done in France would be French cinema, done in the United States it might be Hollywood or independent. Many different ways to look at cinema. By the Greek word kinesis relates to the word movement. Film starts with a celluloid strip of media, now goes digital. Different ways of capturing an image, creating the texture of a movie. The movie itself is short for motion pictures. Motion is the essence of the movie medium. It must have motion. It must be continuous. It must grab your eye and keep you watching. So a movie is popular entertainment. You go to it because you want to enjoy it. You want to enjoy the story from the narrative perspective. And the presentation of the story affects both the cultural differences and what date it was produced at or what year can also influence that cultural impact. And it still is an art form. It approaches it in different ways. It continually is looking for new technology to bring the story to life. All those things can create a new experience. So let's start with the basic terms. Shot. Unbroken span of action captured by an uninterrupted run of the motion picture. In other words, just a few seconds in a film of one shot that does not change, and that is called a shot, that unbroken span of action. Editing joins shots together. So we go from discrete shots to a series of shots, which creates a scene. Scenes are connected to create the movie. So each transition from one shot to another enables the viewer to move along the narrative time and space given in the film. So as you watch a movie, you're going to see how those shots change through the editing process to create the story. Film analysis. What does it all mean? So a consecutive grouping of shots in the scene fits together to create an analytical perspective of what the director's trying to say. The act of taking apart something from your perspective and to make sense of it all. Everybody will take it differently. Combining the analysis through your conversations give you a sense of growth as you go through it. So step 1, identify the tools and techniques used within the scene, sequence, or movie, whatever you're given. Tell the terms, write them down, understand how they're being used. Investigate the function and potential effect of that combination. Did it make you happy, sad, worried, content? So taking notes will take a good amount of time. The length of the film is drawn out if you take notes, but you're capturing an essence of the significant images that make the point. That's very important with the analysis. So invisibility and cinematic language, there's things you take in through your eye. There are sounds that are given to you in different forms. The lighting will impact things. So just as you look at a painting or a sculpture or a photo, you absorb them as for how they are presented. It creates that invisible meaning to you that you grab and hold on to. So cinematic language is invisible because movies move through things quickly. If you miss it, if you look away, if you don't hear something, that can change your perception. So a spectator subconsciously identifies with the camera's viewpoint. You become the camera. You're seeing what the camera captures. And that's how cinematic language draws upon real-life interpretation. They study the impact of certain actions and try to reflect those in a realistic way to give you the visual information so you can create an intuitive absorption and gain the message that they're after. Your expectations as you watch a film, what shapes you in your mind? Well, it could happen beforehand through trailers, social media, any kind of publication that you seek out for more information, online or in a magazine, whatever form you want. That will shape how you feel about the movie, whether you want to go or not. So it forms concerns, expectations, the type of genre it is, the film will form an organization of the film will have an impact. Filmmakers control what you're seeing, and they're leading you through a moment through a pattern of shots or editing. And it sets up the viewers with significant deviations. Each viewer will have to interpret those and gain meaning from it. So one little missed element or someone sees something you don't can have an impact on it. Formal analysis. This is where you take all the different elements used by cinematic storytellers, put them together, and analyze how they created the moment. So that creates a film form. Film form is the means by which a subject is expressed. Do they use all the elements that you can gain in from a film? Visual, sound, lighting, all the combination of images and the frequency of them, that can have an impact and create form. So every element that they use in a film, they are doing it for a reason. They are putting it in that form to create a sensation in you to sell the moment or the message. So let's start with some film terms that you haven't learned yet. A fade in and a fade out. That means at the beginning of the movie, everything's dark. A fade in will change the darkness to a particular image. At the end of the scene or end of a shot, they can go with a fade out. That goes from that image to black again. So fading in, fading out. If it has darkness after the shots, that's a fade in, fade out. Low angle shots. We talked about high angle, low angle, shows power, strength, nobility, or possibly even a threat. High angle would be the reverse, weakness, lack of stature. Cutting on action is the editing term you'll be stuck with for the time being until we get to the editing chapter, so it's quite a ways. How do they create movement? When they change the shot, does it match with the previous shot? So if I'm reaching out to grab something and they cut to that image, that would be cutting on action. And then my hand comes in the next image, grabs the item, third image, shows the person bringing it back. So if it isn't smooth and continuous cutting on action, then it is a jarring jump cut shift from a camera point of view to another. So keep those two in perspective. So if we take Juno, a movie that's in your book, and look at that, you can see the distance between the character and the chair. That's giving it meaning. As the movie goes along, you understand what the chair symbolizes to the character. So if we think of this shot, you see how they're doing it, profile, and that image, you get the idea of what's happening. It's implicit. You imply what you know as the movie goes along to make it meaning. So, theme or motif. A theme is an element that creates a specific message, such as justice always prevails, or good triumphs over evil, that kind of theme. A motif would be a recurring cinematic element that helps define the story. So the chair is the motif. It has meaning beyond the image. As you watch the scene later on, we're going to show you a dolly in. It visually increases the significance of the frame, but the camera physically moves inward. A dolly out would be it moving outwards. So those types of things are important to realize. Dolly in, the camera is moving in one direction. Dolly out is moving away from the image. Duration is the length of the shot. Is it short? Is there a rhythm to each shot? That duration can have a big impact on what the meaning of the shot is. And then point of view is perspective, where you become the camera. So you're seeing something from a particular vantage point. So if it's the character's moving, the camera shows what it looks like as the character moves. That's a point of view shot. Okay, so we're going to look at it as far as implicit and explicit. There are ways of analyzing works of art for what is implied compared to what you see. So if it's beneath the movie's form and then the content is exposed through implicit means, it means that you have to interpret it. You have to interpret what the chair symbolizes. And that is the loss of innocence, pregnancy, whatever you decide that meaning is for that chair. Implicit, it's not put right in front of your face like explicit is. It's on the surface of the movie. If you see a gun shoot, that's explicit. You know that that's a violent act. It's right in your face. So as you explore cinema's function and popular culture, understand the difference between an implicit and explicit use of film. So let's go back to our original scene that you were supposed to have watched by now. The Dirty Harry scene, this is a reaction shot. You see him looking out at the action, and he's got a concern because the alarm went off in the bank. Look at the arrows. All of this creates symbolism in what the movie's trying to imply. Flag of the United States, a car aggressively moving towards Dirty Harry, images created and movement, but this can symbolize justice or the seeking of justice, what the United States stands for. Then a reaction point of view shot from inside the car of the robbers trying to get away. There's Dirty Harry, so this is cutting on action. You see the image there, it cuts to this where it's there. The two go together. So point of view would be the image from the bank robber's perspective. Looking at here, you hear a woman scream. That's a cultural statement. You don't hear any men screaming, you hear a woman scream. That's a stereotyping women as being afraid. Symbol of strength and power. Image of the gun used to stop and form justice. But then Harry is shot by a shotgun, the blood, the two go together as a symbol. Then this one can be many different meanings. Shadow of the gun, of the arm of the bank robber, African American, shotgun. There's different meanings that you can relate here as far as control, threat, and stereotyping as African Americans being bad, that type of thing. And then finally, learning about Harry's character, how he says the word "I gots to know," stereotyping a negative image of him and creating an impression of African Americans. There gun threatens him. He doesn't want to know anymore. And then Harry laughs about it. Low angle shot. It shows what kind of character Harry is, and it's not very positive. So you can get the negatives related to all of this and what they're stereotyping as far as our culture. So as you look through these things, you think of implicit, explicit in those pictures. You say, what's going on? Now you do it on your own by watching a scene from Notorious, Chapter 1, looking at movies, Notorious, 1946 film, Alfred Hitchcock thriller. You'll be seeing Alicia, who's Ingrid Bergman, the younger woman, who's a U.S. spy. Alex is Claude Rains. He is a Nazi working to make the movement powerful again in South America. Ingrid's going there to find out what they're doing to prevent them from starting another war. Madame is an actress who plays Alex's mother and is therefore a Nazi supporter. And then a figurative name, Dr. Anderson. There's the actor's name. He's seeking the ultimate weapon through research and discovery to make the Nazis powerful again. So let's take a look at that scene.
You are not taking care of yourself.
So here's the start of the scene. Notice the use of images and how they're located, the movement with the camera. Now that's a dolly in. It's starting to move in to point to an implicit meaning of the cup. And as they move the cup, the camera continues to move with it, taking the message of the cup to the intended victim. And they end up with an extremely close shot for that time, and then a pan and tilt up to Ingrid Bergman or Alicia. So you can see right away that there's a lot of meaning there. Cut to Alex. Two shot, but look at the way the images are there. And in the center was the coffee cup. So all of that has meaning. This is the threat. It relates right to her. Softer focus on these two as you get the meaning. So as you watch for it, watch those movements and what's going on. Not going to play the whole scene, just enough to get you an idea of what to watch for at this moment. So it's located right here at about the 126 mark. Go there and watch the scene, and you'll be able to see how the interaction, eye movement, what one person's talking, what's the other one looking like. That's a reaction shot. A lot for you to go through and kind of learn from. So we'll stop this now and hope that you get the idea of this chapter as we get into it. And next time we'll be going into Chapter 2, continuing our learning of the film process with principles of film form.